Okay, so this video is to explain how we can do division by packaging quantities with AccuWare's label connector for QuickBooks. So what you're looking at on the screen right now is a sales order that's been prepared with certain quantities on that. And if you've seen some of the other videos, you'd know that basically our system can produce 32 labels with this item's information on it, then 24 labels with that item, and 16 and 12. Or we can produce one label with that quantity of 32 on the label, depending on our setting. But so here's that same order pulled up in the label connector showing all the quantities. But what if you had a situation where you don't want to produce 32 labels? Maybe you're packaging them in groups of 8, and you'd like to be able to then produce fewer labels. In this case, 4 labels, each with a quantity of 8 on there. So that you could then package in groups of 8 and get the appropriate amount of labels that are needed. We have what's called our quantity per container feature, which divides the order quantity by some value. Now you can set what that value is. You could store that value in QuickBooks as an item custom field. Here we've just named the item custom field quantity per container. So if you're packaging groups of 4 or 8 or 12, you could make a custom item field in the item that will then tell Label Connector what to divide by, so we know how many labels to print. So again, in this case, that's the custom item field name that we've defined. Let's take a look at the item itself. Okay. Go into QuickBooks real quick here, and we'll just move up so we can look at that item. So the POCO LB item was the top item on that sales order. So we look into the item custom fields and we see what we did ahead of time here was we made that into a quantity of 8. Just so what that should do is take the sales order quantity of 32 and divide it by that value so that we only produce 4 labels, right? So let's go back to the order. And let's see, so just to review, here's the order with quantity 32 on that first item. Right, so in the label connector, we've already got that order pulled up here. So if we go ahead and just, we'll just produce, I'll uncheck all the other items, so we'll just work on that one item for now. We're looking to then divide that 32 by that 8 value that was set in that item so that we only get 4 labels. So we'll go ahead and print that. We're printing to the XPS printer here so that we can just get a visual on what we print. Normally that would just go directly out to your printer, right? We wouldn't have to save a file here. So save. Okay, let's take a look at what got produced there. Okay, so you can see we produced 4 copies of our test label. It looks slightly different than the label design and bartender because we had a barcode in here that we didn't define a field for as UPC, but that's a different video. But anyway, so we did produce the proper quantity of labels, 4 labels with that dynamic data from the item, showing the customer name, things like that. So just shows that we can properly divide by the 8 value that was set up in the settings for the sales order. Again, we used quantity per container, but that could be named anything. So you could leave your, if you've predefined some custom item fields that already show, quantity per case or quantity per pallet, and you can just use that value here, and we'll use that value for the dividing factor. So hope you, if you have any questions on Label Connector, please don't hesitate to call AccuWare Incorporated. Hope this clears up yet another way on how to use Label Connector for QuickBooks. Thanks.